In this video, I want to walk you through 3 accessibility checks that are particularly difficult to identify. First, heading semantics. Second, list being used where needed. And third, situations where meaning is conveyed by colors. These checks are part of WCAG and they go beyond mere formatting. They need an understanding of the content itself. Let's have a look at this document. This is a document that's an extract from a student handbook. The heading makes it obvious. The document looks completely fine. The document is organized into sections. The headings are recognized by Google Docs and there are no obvious formatting issues. This is where understanding the semantics of the headings becomes necessary. Most accessibility checkers verify 2 things. First, something is marked as a heading, and second, heading levels are not skipped. But these checks only tell us if the structure is technically valid, not if they make semantic sense. Let's look at the headings on this document. As you can see, they're all heading 1. So you can reasonably ask whether housing contract, immunization, and required forms belongs under before you arrive on campus or whether it's intended to be a completely separate section. Right now, both are marked as heading 1, so they're different sections. But you need to understand the relationship between the topics to understand if that's how it should be. That's what you mean by running a heading semantic check. Inkable Docs doesn't just look at the heading hierarchy, it also analyzes the content of the heading to evaluate whether the document structure appears meaningful and consistent with the topics being discussed. Now let's see how Inkable Docs does. When I run the accessibility check, Inkable Docs flags these headings and explains why. It recognizes that housing contracts, immunizations, and required forms is something you do before you arrive on campus and suggests it should be a subheading instead of separate heading 1. Inkable Docs makes a recommendation based on the meaning and relationship of the headings. If I agree, I simply click Fix, and Inkable Docs updates the heading levels automatically. Okay, now let's scroll down. Here we have this list labeled required sessions, and as you can see, the author has few points underneath it. This brings us to our second check, list being used where needed. Okay, imagine using a screen reader and needing to navigate through a list. If you want to quickly get a gist of the content, you can just navigate through the points in a list. You can go back and forth, you can go up and down, and even understand the link between the points themselves. But sometimes writers miss making a list as a list. Here, for instance, even though you might think you're seeing a list, it's actually a paragraph that looks like a list. Inkable Docs recognizes the pseudo lists, the author's intention, and converts it into a native list so the screen reader can navigate it better. Once the fix is applied, the content becomes a proper native list. Screen readers can now recognize it, announce it correctly, and let users move through each item with standard list navigation. Now let's move to the third check, meanings conveyed by colors. Let's take this one on Google Slides. Have a look at this. It's a slide that's part of an English class to help young students differentiate between nouns and verbs. As you can see, nouns in this sentence are in yellow and verbs are in green. For sighted users who can differentiate between colors, this isn't a problem. The colors are reasonably visible on the slide background. But for students with color blindness, they might have trouble differentiating the nouns from the verbs based just on color. Inkable Docs detects situations like this where color is being used to convey meaning and then also suggests an appropriate fix which is contextual. In this particular case, you can see that Inkable Docs suggests that we add labels to the sentence to make the meaning obvious. Clicking Fix adds those labels automatically to the slide. It's that simple. So these were 3 accessibility checks that the traditional rule-based checkers often struggle with. But that becomes much easier when the document is analyzed semantically.